Oh, Dexter. Hey, Miss Aries, how are you? Oh, dangerous. Be cautious at your own risk. Oh, is it a 12 pull? Looks like a macro. Yeah, it looks like a macro. Okay. So we're gonna go down there and make some cannons right now. You're not gonna like this.
Base is under attack.
We're gonna see some movement here soon. Now there is no other hatchery yet. So we're gonna check our base. And we're gonna get a cybernetics core now. Figured. Now those are probably links, so it might lose this part. Oh, they're drones.
Base is under attack. Base is under attack.
Okay. So we made them use
Probes are under attack. Your probes are under attack.
we need immortals if we can get them.
We stand as one. I'm a... Command me. I like what I
Okay.
Oren Shisal. Ula Sadari. I return to serve. Justice be done. Research complete. It is destined. I heed the call. I return to serve.
I am the heart of darkness. I am here in the shadows. I am the voice of the eclipse. I am here in the shadows. Cold is the void. State thy bidding. I am here.
I like what I am.
Very well. I am the voice of the
I return to serve.
I am here in the shadows. We are one. Europe. I am here in the shadows.
That's back there.
Mineral field depleted.
I am here in the shadows. It shall be as you say.
Come on, we know you have another base.
Base is under attack.
Here in the shadows.
Base is under attack.
You require my skills.
Mineral field depleted.
I love your PBZ.
Our pylon is under attack.
We are one. You require.
Coming, baby.
Depleted.
I am the heart of darkness.
Base is under attack.
Oh, wings. Okay. I know what to do.
Base is under attack.
State thy bidding. I am the heart of
is under attack.
I see you.
I see. Let our enemy know our fury.
Our pylon is under attack.
We move unseen. Very well. We are one with the shadows.
Eternal service. Presiding. Your demands. Veritably.
That's right, baby.
Enemy Noah.
My life for hire.
Presiding. I live on. We begin anew. Speak.
My life for hire. Orange Shisan.
Ancient glory reborn.
We embrace the glory of battle.
I am the heart.
Your demands. So be it.
I am here in the shadows.
My meditation is over.
Presiding. Your demands. Eternal service. With honor. Veritably. We begin anew.
I am the voice of the eclipse.
We are the blades mineral.
Where's he at? We're gonna go Phoenixes from here.
Your probes are on mineral field depleted. Mineral field depleted.
Our foes surround us.
We are one. I am the voice.
Ancient glory reborn. We begin anew.
Teleport successful. Base is under attack. Time for the skies await.
I am the heart.
Where do Anan will call?
He's over there. Ah.
Sirovek.
Cold is the void.
Prismatic core online.
I thought I checked over there. I guess I did it.
Your probes are under attack.
Teleport successful. Teleport successful. I will comply. Understood. I stalk through the stars. Now, I am eager to strike. Time for
I'm
battle.
letting you go away with all them muted.
I stalk
think
through
you
the
are.
stars. I am eager to strike. Siravek, where do Anan Porkal? Now, the skies await. For honor. Barzul. Siravek. Let our enemy know our fury. Where do our enemies? Time for battle.
Prismatic core online.
I will comply. I am eager to strike. Understood. Strike. Anan Porkal. I will prepare. For honor. Field online. I see. The skies.
Prismatic core online.
La Farosh. Shazul du Templari. I see Shirakek. Triumph. Time for where do our enemies lurk? Shirakek. The skies. Where do our enemies lurk?
Vespine geyser exhausted.
Wings of justice.
Base crystals charged.
Anan Porkal. I am eager to strike. Anan Porkal.
Oh, money. I was like, what? Why can't I?
La
I was like, I got you.
I stalk through the stars. I will comply. State thy bidding. The skies.
My base. And this one.
I am eager to strike.
You thought you were crazy. I'm crazier. GG. He didn't know much. He maybe got lucky. He didn't know that we don't get GGs very much. But he's like, you know what? This is a good game. I think he'll GG. He probably did. You know, it was a good decision. I believe in humanity. You see, it was positive thinking right there. Okay, so pretty much Pylon. Let me turn off my music so you guys can hear what I'm saying. So this is quite a. Like I like PvZ because I'm very. It allows me to like play fun. I don't know why, but PvZ really gets me an enjoyment because what ends up happening sometimes in PvZ kind of is a little different than TVP or PvT, because with PvZ you can kind of like, they can cheese you and then you can catch it and you can throw the game off and you can make it into a weird game where both of you guys are on real-time strategy already. It's like, oh, we're off the rails. It's real time strategy from here. What the hell is gonna happen? And I really like that. With Terran, it's not too much like that at times when someone's too standard, because when they get off the rails, they tank up. They just siege up, turret up, and they, you can't get too much of a crazy weird outcome. But with Zerg, they have to split sometimes their bases, or sometimes it gets a little weird. So I really like that. With PvP, it's always a shit show, so I'm not too much about it. It's always mirror matches tend to be, but yeah, definitely PvZ has a nice good flavor. So first thing on this one is we go for a pylon, right? Pylon first. We go scout with that probe. And once we're scouting, there's a few things you can see, either a hatchery or no hatchery. If there's a hatchery or no hatchery, we're at this part where the probe goes and you don't see anything right here, right? So in real-time strategy, you have a beginning intro, right? So for me, the beginning intro is my forge gateway at the natural. So the forge gateway at the natural, it takes care of this part. It takes care of the actual, kind of like the starting point of the trunk. And so what am I taking care of? A possible expansion or a possible all-in, and an aggression. So I'm playing 3 different parts. I'm playing aggression, and I'm also playing the part where if I'm aggressive and I can't expand because of the aggressive, I don't have to expand. But if I could expand, I'm allowed to, the way I designed the intro, right? So that's this part right here. And so what happens is we're kind of going towards the same build direction in a sense, because it's a race. And when you're playing a race, there's more of a consistency between all the same races and the same mirror, same type of matches, versus like if you're playing Terran and then all of a sudden you're playing Zerg. It's going to change drastically like that. But because you're playing another Zerg and another Zerg, they're kind of like, they can't do too much, but they could be creative, but they can't do too creative. So what happens is your your stem is the same in a sense, a little bit. It's more like it's becoming more basic, right? But in a sense, that's just a guide. That's where you're trying to go. But in reality, when you're dealing with like a no hatchery, and this is your intro, well, your tree goes from here to maybe it goes this way, maybe the sunshine is not shining on this area, but maybe the sunshine is actually shining on this area, right? And so your tree is going to want to go towards the sunshine because that's what it needs. It needs life. It needs a life. So it's going to bend. It's going to say, oh, you know what? The sun's over here. I just noticed now that I'm here that the sun's not where I thought it was going to be. So let me change my direction towards the sun, because that way I can keep living. And so you have different choices. Do I angle it very drastically? Do I just a little drastic? How do I kind of like change this angle? And that's going to be up to you and how your game's going to work, right? And those are the different branches, right? The fork in the road. The fork in the road is always, which direction do you go? Do you go left or right? And that's the beauty of RTS gaming. Real-time strategy is about real-time decisions, real-time creative war tactics. There's always a person on the other side making different decisions, and you are somewhat coping with those. So the battles change usually, especially with more players in the pool. And so you got this thing where you branch out, and it's no longer your standard build. Your standard build becomes your intro that gets you to the split, and it's up to you to know both splits. Most players don't know both splits. They see a very dark road on one side, and on the other side they see a couple step trails. They're like, oh, there's people that stepped on this area, so I feel more comfortable here. There's more footsteps here. Let's go that way. And what happens is we end up going that way too much, and we never go this way. Well, why do we want to go over there? It's so dark. There's no people over there. I'm gonna have to go over there and try to figure out what's going on. I don't want to do that. It's too dangerous. It's too risky. I'm not good enough, or I can't. I'm not. That's not my. You know. But it's important, right? To go into that dark side and go what's out there, because it helps you learn that there's more angles to the tree to get better light. You're like, oh, you know what? It was dark because there was a little tunnel, but past that little tunnel, there was paradise. You know, a type of paradise that was a little bit better than the other one. Actually, it looks nicer, it feels nicer, it's fun. I like it. It's got more playground in it. I just didn't go over here because I didn't know it was here, because it was kind of in front of some dark area that I didn't want to go to. But now that I'm here, and now that I'm learning that it's here, I know that every time I just have to go through that little tunnel because that's where the paradise is. So it's danger zone, but at the same time, it's enjoyment. So that's kind of like what's going on here. You come in here and you see a hatch first, or sometimes you come in here and you don't see a hatch first, and you're like, what do I do? Do I turn back home and take an exit base because I see a lot of footsteps on that road? Or do I maybe try something different? I might lose, but it's going to change the game a little bit. And I wonder what happens. And if you do this enough times, and you don't fear losing all the time, and you fear, and the only thing you fear is just, the minor things of just, I hope I don't die right away. I hope this works. Those are the little fears that are okay to fear about, because they help you grow. But it's like, it took me some courage a while ago to kind of say, hey, you know what? I don't care if people say that I suck or anything, or if I'm losing. I don't care, because they're not going to be there all the time. And if I get better and they're not there anyways, when I'm better, they're usually not gonna tell anyway. So why do I have to worry about a person's day-to-day thoughts about whether I lost or not? They're gonna think about whatever you are with at the time that you are. So if you're good later, guess what? Their thoughts about you are gonna be, you're good, or he's good. But we just have to face that part where we're like, oh, I worry about what people think about me, because, I want to be there. I want to be that in crowd. And sometimes the in crowd's not as of an in crowd as you think. Sometimes the out crowd is way better than the in crowd. More funner, So come over here. We take a pylon. Now with this pylon, this drone takes off, and then I come in and I kind of go, what's he doing? Now, I think I was chatting or something, or I don't know what happened. For some reason, I didn't, or maybe I walked in and I went over here. I didn't actually see that drone come down. So I believe I might have made a pylon, sent some in on a patrol, and then I quickly went over here to make my cybernetics core or something. Yeah, and then I totally missed the drone. And but that's okay, because I lost a lot of games that way already. I've lost tons of games where I lost where the drone took off and I didn't even spot it, or I didn't think that Zerg had a follow up, and here I am thinking, oh, I'm a cannon rusher, I got him on my nettings, And we think too narrow sometimes, and this happens to all the new players too. A lot of times we think that we're the only ones going in for the kill, and we forget that there's sometimes two murderers in that game. It's no longer a sheep and a wolf. There's actually two wolves, and they're both going for blood right away. The sheep likes to macro until he turns into a wolf, until he turns big enough to become like something to not mess with. Bigger in numbers. But yeah, when you face another one, you're like, I didn't see that coming. I thought I was the one taking charge. This mofo took charge too. And it really makes the game interesting, but at the same time, it helps you learn. So I've learned a lot. I was like, even though I didn't see the drone, I still have a consistent understanding that people do this, and so I have to keep up with that and take a look at those areas. Now, my problem too was when I went over here, I normally make a gateway, and then I send the gateway and I send the probe over here, and the probe is usually here by then. So this is just me chatting at times where I chat and I don't do my normal consistency, but I really don't mind because I freestyle most of the time anyways, and the difference in that towards a little difference like that to me, sometimes it kind of like washes away because I play tactics. So the washing away is because I play tactics versus like macro, and so I'm able to like cut the corners with skill that I usually would need in time. So that's why I don't like get stressed out too much. I kind of go, oh, okay, well, it is what it is. I learned a lot of that. Like, it is what it is. I made a little gateway slower. Oh well, because I know I'm gonna get better. I know that next game, if I really needed to, I'll focus right on point. So I don't need to hurt myself mentally to say, oh shit, you don't, you messed up. As long as you know you're late, you kind of laugh about it a little bit, but still go with the show. What else am I gonna do? Let's learn. We're here to learn at the end. This isn't a tournament. I'm not getting like a lot of eyes on me judging if I'm gonna win or not, you know? So yeah, so I make a gateway, and then I steal the gases. I steal the gases because some players do go macro, and this helps me understand their perspective of how they're spending their income. So in this case, I can't turn my headset, I can't hear, but in this case, what I like to do here after I pylon block is I like to see if he's going 12 pull. Usually this is another branch, right? So we got from this point, there's a branch, and now we went to another branch. And the branch here is, where's the pool? So we got the first one, the first part, and now we got a branch, right? And that branch now on this pivot is a hatch first or no hatch first. On this pivot now, because it's a no hatch first, it's the pool timing. Is it 12 pool? Is it 14 pool? Or is it not there yet? Now, because it's one of those three, you have to know all three branches, because that way you can deal with their shenanigans a little better. So I learned which ones are which by doing certain things. And in this case, you're going to see me steal the gases. The reason why I steal the gases is because I put a pylon in the hatchery. I set up this part right here because this one's set up already. I'm already creating an effect. So if this is a pylon already, and I come over here and there's no pylon, that means that this one is activated into this. This activates this. Now, if into a cannon rush, into a defend. Now, that would be this one right here. But if it's a pull first, by the time you get up there, the lings will be already coming down. So you don't even need to. You cancel your pylon, you keep it there for a little bit, or you keep it, it's up to you, and you go home. You're like, oh, 12 pull. There's no reason for me to spend money here. He's already killing his eco. Let me just get a nexus and expand and macro up and be ahead of the current. Just defend versus the potential Bailey and Ling that he might do, or the Roach all in, because going for a low eco for a Zerg is not good for a late game play. So they're going to be forced to aggress you. So those are little things. So it's like, it's either early lings, or it's kind of like when you get there, the pool is almost done, but it's not done yet, which gives you time to make cannons and defend. So because there's no pool yet, instead of a pool or a late pool, it's none of those two. It became a steal the gas. So the reason why I steal the gas is because if he has no pool, he has a hatchery somewhere in the base. Somewhere in the map, he has a hatchery. And at that time when you're making a hatchery, you usually don't have the income to make the gases at your base. So what you do, what most Zergs do, is they end up getting the hatchery and you end up stealing the gases because they don't want to, unless they can take the gas and keep you from getting it. That's the only thing that the Zerg could do right there, is just have a drone and hold position on the gas on the second gas, because you're gonna take one gas. That's a confirm. It's the second one. Is he gonna let you? Is he not? But if he doesn't take the gas and he just holds position, it's because he has money that he's spending on the hatchery somewhere on the map, and that gives you an intel. You already know the pool's late. And so in this case, he let me take the gas. So he let me take the gas, so I know he has a hatchery. And he doesn't know I'm going to cannon rush him. And the reason why I'm cannon rushing him is because his pool's not there yet. And it's late, so that means his lings are late. If his lings are late and he has a second hatchery, that means I can cannon the between his base and his proxy base. And I can divide and conquer. And so that's why, you got this other branch where he goes, oh, pool, he didn't have a pool, we stole gases. So because we stole gases, I'm going to go this route, and I'm going to go, cannon the intro, his hatchery. So we cannon the natural. Now that we found out that the pool is not there and we stole the gas, we cannon the natural. Now that we cannon the natural, we need to find out where the base is, right? Because where the base is depending on which branch you're doing. There's a base where he goes, it's in your base, it's right inside your base. You're like, oh shoot, I gotta check my base to see if he has a hatchery in my base. You have to check if it's gonna be at your natural or your third, right? Is it gonna be natural or third? I don't know, I gotta check that one. Or is it gonna be at his third or his fourth? And that's gonna be this one right here, right? That's another one, and that's going to be the case in this situation. He took the hatchery, but it's not at your base, and it's not nearby you, so you don't have to go through these more aggressive builds. You can kind of take a little bit of leeway. He wants to grow, is what he's telling you. He wants to grow. He's trying to get closer to the sun. He's not going to go directly up. He's going to go wider out and get more sun and get more comfort. So he's gonna grow that way, and so we have to grow with them, and we have to go, okay, now that we saw the hatchery and we have our cannon natural, now we can RTS it. Now it's like, what do I want to do? I have my positions in place. What is the best thing I think I should do based on your gas? Did you forget your gas too early? Did you forget your cybernetics core? Did you get your cybernetics core on time where you feel like you can go with a certain play because of it? Can you go for the robo play, or do you not have time? Can you have to go to the stalker play, right? So that has to do with you trying to get all those informations, and you come up with a good idea, a good plan that's going to take you to the next part of the game, which is the mid game. Because now you guys are getting to the point where it's not easy to just throw little things. Now it's make plays, and that's what we're doing. And throughout this whole thing, I'm slowly branching out and creating branches. So what you don't normally see is where my thoughts are in every point of the game. But if I kind of like picture it for you, you can see where my thoughts are. And where the circuits are just saying close it, close it, close it, close it. That's not that. There's a lot of other ones that are between this that I could show you, but and that's just just catching all the little details. But if you do this really good and you understand all your branches and you get comfortable with your branches, you become a really good player and understand how real-time strategy works in a whole. So that's what's going on here. So we take his gases, right? And now there goes the pool. I check. What is it? I go for the gases, and then I go for the cannons, right? And then I go over here to check. My mouse feels slow for some reason. Maybe it's just me. Maybe because I'm in slow motion right now. Or the game, maybe yesterday's game. I think it's the games that kind of throw me off a little bit. I think it was it's the cursor of the Resident Evil, how that's the aiming and everything. I get used to those sometimes, and it throws me off just a little, but only for a little bit. Alright, so right here, we found the hatchery. It's too late. I feel like it's the scroll. Is it me or... I feel like the scroll's too slow. A little better. It just sometimes feels too draggy when it's too slow because the way I handle my mouse, if I have to move my mouse or lift it up a lot, it means that my scroll is off. You know, if you ever have to like replace your mouse to a better position after you like scrolled, I don't usually have that problem. Usually everything's in one good, you know, round motion. Okay, so right here, I was aiming for drones because I knew this wasn't gonna stay, but I was forcing out static, and because I'm forcing out static, that's a good thing for me because that's less drones for the Zerg player, and at the same time, I get to know what's going on here. It's not in my best favor that he has a hatchery up already. We normally get the cannons up already, but in this case, you know, games are not always perfect, and sometimes the beauty of StarCraft is the imperfections of it. And so here we have to work for our food. We cancel this. We saw a lot of lings being produced. We saw a spine crawler. We killed some drones. I'm happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that. Cancel, get our base, or what are we gonna do? Now that's where I was thinking about right here. I was like, okay, now that I canceled, let me look at my cards. I got my cannons here, and I gotta get my gases for sure. And I forgot my cybernetics core, so let's get that going on right. But now that I have my cybernetics core, do I want to go void raids right now? I don't think I want to go void raids right now, because the queen's already up and more queens will follow, and that's gonna kill my void raids, and then he might go mutas, and mutas might kill me. So it's the reason why I usually kill this before the cannons, before they come up, because then you have to go for another branch. The other branch don't work no more. You know, I can't go for like that early void raid play because he has a hatchery up now and the queens are gonna explode. And so the best thing I have, because he's gonna do it, is divide and conquer. And so I said, oh, you know what, let's just use this one and let's go for the base attack. And so I've been doing this, you know, to kind of counter that whenever I do get into this weird spot. And of course the Zerg's gonna go macro, right? So there's this position where I'm in a very bad spot because I let the hatchery go at the natural. So I might die if I go macro because I'm not gonna have enough macro for both bases. And then how am I gonna take a third? He's not gonna let me take a third. So he's gonna take a third. He's already ahead. He's already droning. He's gonna explode on the third. There's no way I'm gonna be able to hold this if I take a base. But the good part is that the reason why you build like this is to look like you're taking a base. I learned that back in Wings of Liberty or the early game of HOTS, where I started going, hey, you know what? I think I need to just start making it look like I'm base. I think it was HOTS. I was like, I need to make it look like I'm taking a base because they're gonna see this and they're gonna think, oh, he's gonna take the natural base. And that's where I started learning how to like nexus a lot more, hide my nexus. And so I kept that going because before we would all build here and then we would have to build going down ways and defend versus the lings. It was like a weird era, and I kind of was like, I didn't know versus Zerg, so I stayed up there too. I was like, I didn't have comfort to go down there. So I learned to be able to, like, from all my failures, that I could go down there. I have enough time to go down there. And so I would do like a pylon 2 gateway for Zealot timing attack to go kill the third of the Zerg base, and then I go for a macro build. So that's how I used to start off my games back in HOTS. And so because of that, this gave the perception to players that, oh, he's got a base or doesn't. Now in this case, the Overlord's not here, so that actually worked in my favor. Because these pillars are here, that's where the Zergs have to kind of check and see, hey, is he going for it or not? And I think that's where the mistake is on Lazios, at least a little bit. But at the same time, it really doesn't matter anyways, because he's still going to macro anyways. That's what most people do, is they macro. If they're going to macro anyways, that's just what their comfort is. Me, I could decide to macro or not, but because of my info, I said, no, I can't macro. I have to hit him. And this is where the style of what you would call a printf style. I'm not taking a printf style. I also have a Florencio printf style as well, and you have to learn it. You have to have your own one base or die trying concept, because it becomes that way sometimes. Sometimes the games become where you have to make a decision to not go macro, and you have to go micro in this case. And if he gets bigger, your income and your tactics should supply a challenge to them, because they're spending their money on macro and it hasn't created the benefits yet. They've only invested at the moment, so they have that time where the investment hasn't cured, and that investment is going to cause a little pain if we're going to be aggressive to them. And so yeah, so this is going to be I don't need a base right now, because I already know how to play a one base anyways, and I know that I don't worry about always needing that. I need another base. I need, that insecurity where you think you need another base all the time. You think you're behind all the time, and that's the only solution. And then they go, what if I tell you there's another solution than just only taking a base, and always have to be dictated by your opponent? How about you take control, but you have to pivot at the right time to do that? And so therefore you get the cybernetics core. We're gonna get ready with the pylon right here, so we can get the battery shield to keep the cannons up before he gets the Ravagers. Even though, because he was greedy, he slowed down on his Ravager play, and it affected him here. And I got my Robo, and I got more cannons, because I'm just not risky enough to just think that this is gonna be all I need. I need battery shield. I need cannons, because if not, maybe I'm just too optimistic and I'm just gonna lose this because I don't make enough cannons. I'm too greedy. I'd rather have a Nexus with this, and I get my Nexus and I cut some of this fat, and all of a sudden this doesn't look so threatening for the Zerg, and they just come in and take it out. They're like, oh, it's just 3 cannons? Let me go over there and just take it out. They go over there, they see a battery shield, they're like, and another cannon over there, let's hold up. So sometimes you're cutting the corners also allows your opponent to feel like cutting corners too. Not the only one that can cut corners. Always remember that. And so we're getting 2 gateways. We're getting a warp gate. Why am I getting a warp gate? Florencio don't get warp gates. What is this sorcery you speak of, Flo? How come you're getting warp gate? Well, because warp gate is a strategy tech. It's not technically supposed to be intended solely for just mechanical speed production. It's meant for a tactic. And so the only time I use warp gate is when I'm gonna be tactical with it, and usually it's usually in the mid game is when I start becoming tactical with my cybernetics core. Usually, like, it used to be 17-minute mark, then I dropped it down to like 15-minute mark, then I dropped it down to like 12 in regards to an average game, because I've been kind of like trying to like work my my tactics and sharpen them both. And so as they sharpen, my timing starts sharpening as well. But I never really feel like I need the warp gates unless I'm gonna go for like a warp gate tactic. They're good for like prism plays, they're good for proxy pylons, they're good for battle reinforcements. But I don't think that they're just good just to have, It's like, I'm just gonna get this upgrade because everybody gets it right away. I kind of like make sure I know why I get it. It's like, am I just getting stuff just because I'm getting stuff? Am I not appreciating these techs for what they have and what they're for? Oh, Dexter. What happened, buddy? Come here. What happened? Talk to me. Oh, you're stretching out now? You're good? You just wanted to hassle those old people? Oh, I love you too. I know. I love you too. There's Dexter right there. What? Oh. He's the coach right here. He's checking up on me, making sure I'm saying what I'm preaching. Keeping me honest, right? Yeah, he likes to flex right now. He's flexing right now. When he just comes in here and just chills like this, straight flexing. IW, your mouse on your usual DPI. I already adjusted my DPI. So I try not to mess with my DPI. I really try not to mess with my DPI, but I have adjusted it not too long ago. So I rather just adjust the game too much, because you know how the DPI goes when you just move it a little bit. Sometimes that shit just all of a sudden you're at a whole different mechanics speed. Look at you. Are you just laying down on me? What the hell, Dexter? He's like right there. Dexter, do you want a cookie? Let's go get a cookie. Pew. Okay, let's get him a cookie real quick and I'll be back. Because if not, the coach is going to be very upset with me. I like my scroll speed. It's very important for my speed. You kind of speed up on that as you get better. As you get better, you start learning how to like control this better, and it's not as fast as you are. Because I like this speed right here, where it's still a little faster, but this is cool too. I don't mind. But it has to have like, how would I say it? My mouse needs to stay here. My pivot is here. Think of it like this. Think of this at as the top of the counter, and that's the pivot, and it doesn't go anywhere but there. So me going like this or like this should be everything I need to do everything possible in StarCraft. It's just a pivot. So I don't do this where I move my mouse again and I do this and then I run around like this and then do this and slide it again because it's off center, and I don't do this. No. I just do, I let my mouse move with a pivot and my fingertips. My fingertips kind of like travel. My thumb and my pinky kind of control the motion of the back, and I kind of just like, you know. So that's gonna help keep your joints and everything not messed up so much, because moving around the joints and moving all that all day every day can really strain your nerves. So I keep myself very finger active. Like my fingers are the ones moving the mouse, my fingertips, nothing else. My wrist isn't. So you got to ask yourself, when you're playing StarCraft, is your wrist the one moving when you're doing that, or is it your fingertips? You know? How do you do it? You know? Yeah. Claw mouse grip. Yeah, cuz the bottom of my desk is right here and my edge is my liner. You know, that's how I do it. So that way I don't connect, you know, you don't have the desk and it's not cutting off your nerve system. You know, this nerve system that you have right here, you're not pressuring it. You're not creating pressure. So I use the padding of my palm. I use these muscle paddings to lay against the edge of the screen, and then I use the mouse to do the movement. At least that's my science so far, to try to keep myself from straining myself, and a lot of it has to do with the you know, the speed of this screen. The boobs type of mouse pad, because you're creating pressure on the bottom. You're creating pressure here when you're playing, when you're using that, you know? And not every time you have like the space for those designs to be comfortable. Sometimes the angle of those paddings make it very uncomfortable to play for me. It doesn't feel as natural. But I also feel conscious about it, because I always put pressure on this with those paddings. I put pressure, you know, and you know that pressure is just constant. And here I have the paddings on my bottom, which kind of keeps, my nerves from being pressed the way I do it. Because I used to do that, and that would the padding would cause my hand to go further away from the keyboard a little bit, where my hand is like laying down. No nerve system. Yeah, so that's why. Okay, so right here, what do we got? We have a Zerg going for a 3-base, layer tech, and I got the Robo, and I got the gateways, and the warp gate. The Zealots, as you can see, the Zealots are coming over from this side. So I build the Zealots at my base without the warp gate. And a lot of people get complicated when it comes to warp gate because they won't make units usually until they get the warp gate, like a rule. They're like, oh no, that's what warp gate's for, so we have to wait. And so yeah, I never had that habit. I saw that a lot in the beginning of like Wings of Liberty, and I'm like, no, we need what if we build before and without the warp gate? Maybe it's quicker. And it tends to be quicker sometimes when you keep making more workers, more units from the gateways, and get the warp gate. And so, in this case, I'm getting my warp gate, get the Zealots. The Zealots are walking over around to go do the attack. So, and the Zealots are going to be able to deal with the Lings if he has Lings roaming around. Because when you lose the Lings, that means you have to generate more army, at least to defend. Now in this case, Roach Lings versus Battery Cannon and Immortal. I would probably die here if I didn't have Warp Gate, because I wouldn't really be able to substitute my army or make it interesting as a composition. If I would just go more Immortals, you'd think that would actually counter Mutas? I doubt it. Would I feel comfortable going Immortals because I feel like it's working in this game? If I did Immortals, I would say, yeah, all of a sudden I have 7 Immortals. I'm going to kill you now. And all of a sudden the Mutas come and you're like, okay, I'm dead. Shit. He had a 3rd base. I killed 2 bases and he had the Mutas as his follow-up, and I didn't think about that. I thought I was going to just destroy everything. I thought he was going to have more roaches and stuff. So you got to be very diverse in your playstyle. And that's why I like to utilize all the types of units in one game if I could, because you're going to need them sometimes. It's very important in StarCraft that you're colorful in the game. So right here, we're using the Immortals. Now, this is just a little bit of poking, right? Why are we poking this base? Why are we poking this base? Well, because he's going to think that we're going to be aggressive over here. First, it's because he's aggressive over here, right? We think he's aggressive over here because this is the defendable base. This is where we would think the most defense would be. But then we come over here because we assume that the army should be more defensive here. So let's go over here. Then we go over here to create whatever damage benefits that we could. And then we go, okay, he's going to assume that we're going to keep going here. And he's going to make the army more here. So then we can go hit here. And this is going to be our splitter. That's why I was creating this little pocket right here. And I kept making a gateway or whatever building here. Just so that the other ones can't go through when I come in forward. Just makes them panic a little bit. And then I open it up and I go the other way and I block it. So it's... just little tactics, they're not in the rule books. This is where real-time strategy comes up. You see a pattern, you see an opportunity, you create a play. And we go do our immortal thing, get our battery shield, make sure that's generated, keep doing more of it, keep getting stalkers. He wants to come in, he wants to go through, he can't go through, he has to go this way if he wants to. He loses the hatchery. You know that he's leaving the drones. Whenever someone leaves with the drones, most likely there's another base. So go over there eventually and take it out. Don't go, oh, now I can go to his main base. That's the wrong choice. The main base is already mined out pretty bad. Why would you want to go over there as much as, the tech is there, but most likely it's defended to an extent. But What if he has a better base where it's all nice and, juicy on minerals, and you go kill this main base, and then his main base turns into his new base, and you forgot to macro, and you have very low minerals. Now you go back and go, oh, I don't have anything behind this. I thought I was gonna be able to, but I didn't look at my minerals, and all of a sudden I have nothing. So we go over here and we go take out the nutritious base so that we can stay in the game and stay on top at the moment. Now for a moment, I'm looking at this, I'm like, okay, he's making lings, he's getting a little panicky. I think it's looking good. Now notice how I'm getting a lot of stalkers. The stalkers can counter mutas, and they could also support the immortals in these situations, and they micro real good. That's why I'm getting stalkers. But then I come over here because I wanted to win the game, right? This is the part where a lot of players lose. This is where you lose your MMR when you don't have to. So a lot of players, they're like, hey, Florencio, how do you move up in rank? And you go, okay, well, think of it as a balloon, right? Or let's not think of it as a balloon. Let's think of it as a bucket, right? We have a bucket, and there's water inside. And we're playing StarCraft, right? And what happens is, all of a sudden, as we're playing StarCraft, because we're not perfect and we're learning it, we're going to have a lot of holes in our games. Our game plan is going to be filled with holes. This hole, that hole is going that way. The water is going that way, that way, that way. This one's going that way. This one's drooping down, creating a nice little puddle. And what happens is this. We have to learn how to patch up our imperfections of what normally kills us that shouldn't kill us. And I'm not talking about the things that you won't even see in the first place that you're going to learn later. I'm talking about the things that are killing you right now. Like, I'm losing to cannon rushes. Oh, I can't. I hate cannon rushers. And you stop hating them when you start learning how to defend them. Because all of a sudden your patch is gone. And now you covered that patch, and now you're getting your water filled up more than you used to because it's not going out as much. And so you're like, oh, you know what? I like cannon rushers because I get free points that way because I know what to do versus them, and they're probably not as good as the better cannon rushers that might throw me off too and make an interesting game. So I get some free MMR that way, and I don't lose my MMR. So not only you patched it, but you also were able to allow more water to come in by doing so. And this one right here, I gotta learn how to macro a little bit better. I gotta learn my mechanics. I gotta learn how to upgrade. I gotta learn, the counters. All these little things that you end up doing will help you shut down all these little cracks that are letting your water, your MMR, go down the drain. And what you're doing is you're going to start noticing that you're moving up in rank. Oh, shoot, all of a sudden I went from platinum to diamond. That is awesome. And all I did was learn how to defend cannon rushes. I didn't even learn anything really new on my builds. I just learned how to defend some stuff that I usually mess up with. Multi-prong attacks. They keep hitting me in multiple places. I keep losing even when I have the game in my hand. Why? And so in this game, where my X is at, where I sealed the deal, where I don't lose my MMR as much, is don't think you won the game and just go in there and just expect to win and just say, oh, it's my game, get out of here, I won, and just throw a move in and try to collect your earnings. Go in if you at risk, but go in with caution, of course, and go, oh, you know what? Nah, too risky. I have the game right now. I have the map control. He's on one base. There's no way I want to let him get an advantage, right? So right here, I can feel very strong as a player, and I can be, all right, I'm going to go in there. I killed this base. I killed this base, and mind you, you know, I've never, my bases hasn't been touched at all. I'm pretty good on my side. Not realizing your mineral income. Your mineral income is shit now. But your army's good. But your income shit. So what happens is you trade this army recklessly because you think you won. Because you got the better hand. And then you go back home and go, oh, I don't have no minerals. I only have 519 minerals. Do I make an army? Or do I make a nexus? Do I long distance mineral mine? Oh shoot, I'm in a bad spot now. Oh shoot, you know, I think I'm dead. I think I made the wrong mistake. You know, and so this right here is what players have to learn to grow, is to don't always think win ahead, go kill them, but also think win ahead, get more ahead. I.e., play with your food, as they call it. It's okay to play with your food, because playing with your food keeps your MMR in your pockets. Okay? Let me just tell you that. Now, playing with your food in the wrong way would be playing somebody that you are way over their league. I would say that is playing with your food. But if you're playing a straight battle versus somebody that can kill you too, and you're taking your time a little bit longer to think about it, to make sure you go for that win, you're not going to lose as many games that you should have won. You're not going to kick yourself in the butt for making those mistakes anymore as much. And yeah, you're going to think a little clearer. So this right here is my conscious decision saying, Flo, remember. Remember. And I go, nope. I saw the signs and I just went right back over to my spot and I regrouped my senses. And I said, Flo, you almost made the biggest mistake you say you don't make. You go in there half cocked, thinking that you won the game. So I did what a humble person would do and back off and say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take a base. I'm going to get my base. I'm going to back off. I'm going to defend this area. And even though he's on one base, maybe he had more money than I did. Maybe those bases that he had before gave him more money than I expected him to have, because I think he's on one base now. I forgot the fact that he mined longer than I did on two bases, maybe three bases. And that's where it messes people up. We don't count all those little differences. And this is where I failed right there at that point. I forgot to realize that, wait, maybe he did get enough money during that time, because I did go this route for that purpose. And if I go in there, he's going to have a bank, and I'm not going to have the bank to reset. You know, and so that, yeah, Nexus comes up. Cannon just in case, because I'm gonna plan on recalling back home if I need to and defend a 2 base and maybe give him this base, but I know he's weak. I know he's in a bad state right now, because if I give him this base, it's gonna take him a little while to get a hatchery up, and I can get this base and get my advantage, and then we could play it a longer game if he needs to, but I'm not gonna give him the game. So you go over there, where the files. And then now I gotta get the observer so I can get the high ground vision. I don't want to move up the ramp. And I don't want to think that I'm gonna kill him, because by thinking of that, that's just being naive of me. So what my goal is to check for his hidden bases again. Constantly check for his hidden bases. I know he's gonna want to spread out somewhere. It's the only thing he could try to do right now. And that's where I was able to like find with the stalkers, look for his bases, and I'm like, okay, I found one. Alright, cool. I was gonna move over there, but I was like, oh well, let's just hold up. He canceled his hatchery. Let the stalker do its thing. The lings turned out to go take out the stalker. And there goes the ravagers. The lings are on the side ready to shark us. Those lings are ready to just go surround us while the ravagers go and just throw a good bile right in the middle. So he's right there. He's waiting. He's like, I'm going to wait until he gets close, and then I'm going to attack him when he does. And I'm not planning to attack him. Remember, I said no. No, we're not doing that. We're not playing that game. I'm not going to lose my MMR for the fact that you think I'm going to just go in there and think that I won. No. I'm going to be the better player and take the lead. Right? A smarter player takes the lead, doesn't try to just win the game. And that's going to help you in the longer games in the future, because to practice better leads versus winning games actually teaches you how to play late game. So here I am using the disruptor to try to like get some pot shots during this time, keeping my stalkers and stuff slightly out of danger. And he's still just trying to instigate me. He's still trying to instigate me, except I'm instigating him with disruptor balls. And I'm going into Stargate play in a moment, because the disruptor balls, they're just gonna allow me to like deal with this army, but there's still that chance that, hey, if he goes air, I'm gonna be screwed. But if I go air, it also deals with the Ravagers. So I could deal with the Ravagers with Void Raids, and I could deal with the Mutas with Phoenixes. So that's where changing your transitions in your army comps are really good to kind of like understand, because it doesn't allow you to just make more gateways and just like, oh, I'm just gonna make more gateways because I have a lot of money, and that's what I'll do. And yeah, you could kind of sometimes win like that, but if you learn your Protoss, you'll know that even if you do that, sometimes the Ling harass, the amount of Lings could overwhelm you. You not taking a third and then being able to macro out could overwhelm you, and just surrounds and such, bad placements. So to go with the same comp over and over again is a bit stale, but at the same time, you could still lose. So it's better to like be able to adapt. And so in this case, Ravagers, I can go Void Raids. He goes Mutas potentially off this to defend, to counter. I can go Phoenixes. And right now the Disruptors are here so that I can deal with the Ravager, containment. So you notice how I'm using Stalkers, New Mortals. The Disruptors are for this play. All of a sudden, I have the late game play where I assume the Stargates, and the Stargates are for the Mutas. And I even said that in the game. I was like, oh, in case he goes Mutas. And it was like, I think it was like a few seconds after he came in with Mutas, because it's just part of my my learning. So a lot of players could get stuck with a bunch of Disruptors and Prisms, and then all of a sudden feel too comfortable with that, and then the Mutas will get you, and the Surround will get you. All of a sudden you got to go home because the Mutas killed all your workers, and then all of a sudden you lost your front containment, and now you're in doo-doo. And so the Zealots are over there trying to deal with, like, is there a base? Is there not a base? I'm still doing that with the Zealots. I'm still checking everywhere, because it's important that I'm making minerals and he's on one base minerals. And so here he is. And I make Phoenixes right off the bat before seeing the Mutas, which sometimes under anticipating the next move and being good at it makes you look like a hacker. So a lot of people are like, that hate me, they're like, oh, you're a hacker. How'd you made Phoenixes before my Mutas were visible. And I always go, that's a compliment, because it just lets me know that my instincts are good. My timings are good. My hard work is improving. So here he goes. Takes this out like I told you. Got some stuff done with the Disruptors, but not, of course, not enough. We got this army right here. We got the hidden base with the probe that was here a long time ago for the purpose of this whenever I needed it. That's why you always have a hidden probe somewhere. I always say, hey, always have a probe somewhere in the map. You never know, for base trade reasons, for expansion purposes, a probe in the map is always important. Hiding the probe in the map is always a skillful, task. Knowing where to hide it. Sometimes it's good to hide it like in these little weird spots, not even exactly in the base spots. But I have more harassing tactics to my opponents that most of the time the base spot is usually okay anyways, because they're so aggressed that they usually don't think of expansions at that time, because they're like, well, why would he expand right now in some weird spot? Right now he's like, we're hashing it out. So there goes the Mutas, and there goes the Ravagers, the Stalkers. I go and go check around, and the mutas right here, they get caught by the Phoenix. And the Phoenix is counting the mutas, especially with good tactics, like micro tactics. You back off, keep your distance, and here, when you have this movement right here, what you always want to do with this is the mutas are going to go this way. Your Phoenix are supposed to go this way. They're supposed to follow the same direction that the mutas are going. And you're supposed to kind of keep a little gap in between. You don't want to like go headbutt back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? What you want to do is kind of like shark around him until he decides to want to go back home. Once he starts wanting to go back home, then you start moving towards the sides of his mutas, because that's going to allow you to keep your Phoenixes alive, and you're not going to get in this micro butting situation. So you got to remember, you got to give yourself a little respect, because the Phoenixes are good for that, and you always want to travel parallel to the mutas. Always parallel. So like right here, I'm getting my parallel angle, keeping my distance right here. Once I got my distance, we're going towards that direction. You notice how I'm kind of like going this way a little bit? And then if he's not moving forward, then you can kind of attack a little better, because you know that he's desperate. But you kind of know, based on the amount of mutas and the aggressiveness of the player, the best way to do it. Now in small numbers, that's how you do it, because what happens is mutas are really controllable units, and a lot of people, they don't want to be there all day trying to get the mutas and run them around and micro the Phoenixes. They're eventually going to want to patrol them away while they macro inject, do their inject cycles. And so because of that, until you don't, like, if you're just stalling over there and just kind of like hovering around them, and he's trying to like shark you and trying to stay away and try to pick you off little by little, you just kind of wait for that moment where he does that patrol move, and then you're like, okay, cool, parallel, and you just start going parallel towards him, and he's like, shit, and then he has to use them again, and so then you're like, keeping you from your mechanics. And so at that, or you lose your meter. So I always keep an eye on my Phoenix when I micro them, because I use the most out of them. I never like send them off and I just go and do other stuff. I don't really believe in that tactic as much as it is efficient. I believe that's like a zombie tactic, or at least a beginner's tactic. But even then, that's not even a good way to like educate a beginner, because a beginner should just be able to stimulate itself with so much change in the game and so much adjustment that needs to be made. I think that's the stimuli that's needed. The stimuli of just make a lot of units and then send them off and don't look at them, it's not the best stimuli for a player to enjoy while getting their butts kicked and learning. You lose the fun part of it, and you're still getting your butt kicked and you're learning. So you're getting triple screwed, in my opinion, mentally. So yeah, the Phoenixes right here doing their job. Pick up the queens like they're supposed to, counter the mutas as they're supposed to, and then the void rage follow up is to counter the corruptors. So now you got Phoenixes to be able to get corruptors, so you can get void rage so that he doesn't over corrupt or bully you on this case, because the income is bad for him. And I checked the gases, there's no gases here, so no gases here lets me know that I'm not gonna see a corruptor into a muta switch, because when you see corruptors, you go void raids, but then they'll switch it and go mutas, and muta corruptor has a better composition versus Phoenix void raids. Phoenix void raids are not as good as muta corruptor. So what happens is you have to get way more Phoenixes to counter the amount of corruptors and to counter the mutas at the same time. And so because of that scenario, I kind of read the gases and said that's not going to happen in this case. So void rays are good. Let's keep making the void rays because he's most likely going to just either switch to hydras or he's going to spore up and just try to defend up until he gets corruptors, because he ain't going to go mutas too quick. He's got to go corruptors first before mutas now. No choice. And if not, he's going to go corruptors and queens. And he's going to march his queens over with the corruptors, or even pick up the overlord with the queen with the corruptors. That's also good. You go, oh shit, get the overlord, pick up the queens, come on ladies, and you take them off with your corruptors, and you're like, you go and you battle the void raids and phoenixes. You drop the queens and start transfusing all your corruptors, and then you pick up the queens, you take them with you, drop them right there. This is where we're gonna start, so there's creativity on both sides. It just depends who's gonna take the opportunity or who sees the opportunity. So, I can only speak for myself and my own creativity and what I'm learning from it, and it's up to others to test my boundaries and make me grow. And lose the layer tech. And then now the overlords are done. The corruptors are here. Like I said, gotta go corruptors before mutas now. And you gotta get enough corruptors to bully this army so that you can switch back to mutas. It's kind of like it's a vicious cycle. That's why I'm trying to kill all the overlords right here, because he's like, oh, I'm like, oh, no defense. Okay, I'll kill the overlords because that's gonna be money and supply that you're not gonna be able to have just yet. So took care of that. Forced them into using overlords for the next, I don't know how many 100 years on this larva account. So the queens are going to inject, and the only larvas that are coming out are going to be for overlords. So you learn that, you keep the math, and you're like, okay, cool. And yeah, we know he's sporing up. He's going to spore up, so I recalled my my army with my probes over here. I'm on 2 bases now. Even if he's on 1 base, I'm pretty comfortable. And there you go. And I was going to take another base just to counter him for having a base. Okay, you took a base, then I'm going to take another base, because it's always nice when a Zerg sees a Protoss has more bases than the Zerg, because you're dead. Or you should be dead soon. Because a Protoss technically shouldn't have more bases than a Zerg. The Zerg should always have technically 1 base more, somewhat, to even out. At least that's the science that Idra created a long time ago for the Zerg community. Idra was one of the first ones to do that, or is it Indra or was it TLO? Not TLO. Stefano. Which one was it? I can't remember if it was Stefano or Idra that did the 1 base more than your opponent. But I was back in Wings of Liberty, and so ever since, that's been a Zerg culture to always have 1 base more than your opponent's base. Yeah. So there you go. And he died because he didn't have the right composition to keep going. And at the end of the day, the composition is very important. The more complex your composition gets by exploring your tactics and your strategies, the stronger yours is versus your opponent's. So as you get better, you start learning how to compose better unit groups, because it means the world in StarCraft. GG.